You're watching BCTV, Branford's community access station.
This is BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of Branford.
I'd like to call to order the meeting of the monthly meeting of police commissioners. It's January 11th, and it's 10 of 6. A little bit late, but we'll start with approval of the minutes for the December 6th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Report of the chief.
Good evening, Happy New Year. Glad to see everybody back. We'll start off with the ComStat report. Last month we issued 294 summonses, 34 of which were for cell phone or distracted driving. So I'm going to start with a little bit of a highlight of what's been going on. And Branford is not, doesn't have the monopoly on this. This appears to be, and I think I mentioned this at the last ComStat meeting. We have had a huge increase of motor vehicle thefts and theft from motor vehicles. In light of that, my crime analyst, Dominique DeVolto, made a nice flyer for us that we published on Facebook. The media got a hold of it. But here are some basic facts for Branford. Typically, on average, there's about 33 vehicles stolen each year from Branford. In 2017, we responded to 44. The key thing in this is that 76% of these cars that were stolen were unlocked and their keys were left in the cars. Okay. 15% were stolen by an acquaintance with keys. 9% had the ignition tampered with. We had recovered 77% of the vehicles within an average of about 16 days, but the longest one took about 232 days. Most of the vehicles that we got back were in very poor condition. They were involved in motor vehicle crashes and usually required quite a bit of repair. There were 3 motorcycles that were stolen over the past year, and none of those were recovered. The majority of the vehicles that are being stolen are coming from condo complexes and residential houses. So with that, what do we do about it? If you have a garage, put your car in the garage. Even lock your car in the garage and take your keys out in the event that somebody gets into your garage. Lock your vehicle, close your windows, never leave your keys inside the vehicle. If you could, park in a well-lit area. Keep all items of value concealed. Never leave your car running in the driveway, especially in this cold weather if you don't have a remote starter, okay? Don't leave your car running with the keys in there. Think of some way to make it more difficult for them to steal your car. An anti-theft device, an alarm, whatever it might be. Most cars nowadays come with these things, but they're still being defeated, especially if you leave the keys in the car. Just be alert if you see somebody in your neighborhood that's suspicious. Give us a call. We'll come out and check them out.
If you see something, say something.
Exactly. If you see something, say something. So the big issue is that it appears to be that the juvenile laws have changed, and they've taken auto theft off of the serious juvenile offense list. So what are they doing? The juveniles are coming out and they're rifling through cars. They're looking for spare change, or if you leave your laptop in the car, your wallet, whatever it might be. And if you leave your keys in it, they're taking it for a ride. So just that's the highlight. That's the big issue that we're having right now. And we don't have the monopoly on it here in Branford. It's happening statewide. So Moving to the ComStat report, the first section is always the A squad, the midnight to 8 shift. You can see on the midnight to 8 shift, the midnight shift, that they had just a little bit of an increase of calls for service, really consistent with the previous reporting period. We had one vehicle on this reporting period stolen on, that was reported stolen on the midnight shift. Most of the cars get stolen, usually happen on the overnight hours, and they usually typically get reported on the day shift watch. On page 4, you could see the arrests and the motor vehicle infractions, or the motor vehicle enforcement that the midnight officers did. We had moving on to page 5, we had a burglary at Marco's Pizza. The window was smashed out, however, nothing was taken. The theft of the auto was a Jeep Compass stolen from in front of on Monticello Drive, which, by the way, is the Jefferson Road, the condos in that area, Jefferson Woods, the Greens, happen to be one of the hot spots for stolen cars and theft from vehicles.
And also it was unlocked with his key inside.
Correct. Spare key was left inside. We also had a theft from a motor vehicle. Somebody left their car unlocked and stole various items out of the car. They did report a suspicious person on the 22nd at about 3:12 in the morning. Found somebody, this was on Millwood Drive. It sounded like somebody was trying to open up the back door of his house. But the suspect was, somebody was trying to break into the shed in the backyard. We identified one person as a possible suspect in that case. On page 6, you could see the A squad, or the midnight shift initiatives. They continue to do traffic stops and radar assignments as their main issue, as well as focusing on the stolen vehicle problems that we're having. In Short Beach, it was very quiet in Short Beach this period. 43 calls of service, none of them which made it to the quality of life types of crimes. They had 7 motor vehicle stops and 4 which were radar assignments. Page 11, you can see the stats for the B squad, which is 8 to 4. They had a slight increase of calls for service from 578 to 604. They had a huge increase, I wouldn't say huge increase, almost double. Motor vehicle crashes. That's primarily attributed to the bad weather that we've been having. A couple shopliftings, theft from autos, those types of things. On page 12, you could see the activity for criminal arrests as well as motor vehicle arrests and traffic assignments. Another problem that we have been experiencing, that we've been focusing on, is in the area of the train station. We've had several thefts of catalytic converters. We've been focusing on that. We've had special details out in the train station parking lot to try to prevent those and hopefully catch a suspect doing it. But typically, the types of vehicles that they're hitting are SUV type vehicles. I'm not sure if it's because their catalytic converters have more important or more valuable metals in it.
They're higher off the ground, I'm guessing.
It's probably easier to get to.
Right.
Cases, a couple thefts that they had. The other thing is that they're breaking into sheds. You can see that we had 2 sheds, one on Rich Hill Road and one on North Main Street, typically stealing landscaping type equipment. And they've been, the B squad, the day shift, has been focusing on commercial businesses. We're back at the school checks. We had an officer assigned to traffic and walk and beat on Main Street, as well as the train station parking lot. Pine Orchard, there was really no activity, as well as Stony Creek. They had 3 calls for service in Stony Creek this last period. The 4 to 12 shift, again, another increase of calls for service. Main issues, motor vehicle crashes on the 4 to 12 shift actually went down a little bit. They had a DUI arrest. Domestics seem to be on the increase this time of year, as well as shoplifting. Page 22, you can see the statistics in regards to arrests and motor vehicle enforcement. So on page 23, there was a DUI. This was interesting. They were actually at the scene of a family violence incident when somebody decided to drive on the front lawn while they were investigating the family violence case. Coincidentally, it was not that person's address. She just drove up on the front lawn.
She thought she was home.
I'm not sure. Unfortunately, on the 10th, we had a fatal motor vehicle accident on South Montague Street. And you can see on page 24 just basic quality of life issues, shoplifting and coals, and a family violence assault on Brushy Plains Road. A couple vehicles were actually broken into after somebody took a wallet and keys from a locker at the YMCA. We had actually 2 cases, similar types of incidents, and we have a suspect, actually 2 suspects for that. A fight at West Main Street between 2 employees. One of them was armed with a knife. That person was arrested, and we also had another theft of a vehicle at Pepe and Roses, which is at the top of Jefferson Road at the near the intersection of West Main Street. The pizza delivery person left the car running while he went inside to get pizzas, came back out, and the car was gone. You can see on the next page 2 catalytic converters were stolen from one from the train station and one from Tipping Drive. But the hot spot is the train station. Excuse me. Page 28, you can see the initiatives, what they've been doing as far as radar and radar stops. They had 21 criminal arrests. They continued to work on the commercial business in Plaza, especially for the holiday season. Excuse me. They would get out of cars, walk through the shops. We had directed patrols towards the center business district. We had unmarked cars at the YMCA for the thefts from YMCA, and we actually had 2 call-outs of the regional traffic team.
For accidents, is that?
Those are for major accidents.
The fatal one on Monterey, yeah.
And one in East Haven. The Detective Bureau on page 30. Recovered one of our stolen vehicles in West Haven, a Cadillac Escalade that was involved in a pursuit previous days before with Guilford, North Branford, and East Haven. We found it at West Haven found it in a parking lot, and it was discovered during an overnight hours that appeared to be 3 young people in it, and they failed to stop. The detective division also helped with the thefts from the YMCA. Moving on. This case, the Bureau investigated a case. If you have somebody that's going to offer to do work in your house, do a background investigation on them, make sure that they're licensed to do the work, make sure that they have some sort of, you can check with the Better Business Bureau, but these folks allowed these these two folks, people to come in to work. There was jewelry missing and other items, and it was quite a substantial loss of property that these people stole.
Is that the one where they got it in the pawn shops?
Yes.
But
So
we got
that-
a lot
that-
of it back, right?
Right, and that we have that program called Leads Online.
It's online, yeah.
Okay, where we're able to scan the pawn shops, eBay, Craigslist to see if similar type items are being sold or dropped off at pawn shops. So that's actually how they made that case. One of our stolen vehicles was recovered by New Haven Police on the 27th. We took that car back for processing and DNA. A case of note on page 33, we had those, I don't know if you recall the rash of break-ins to cars at Almac Motors on North Main Street.
Yeah.
Well, the suspect in this was convicted. They were stealing tires. He was convicted with larceny third. He's currently incarcerated for a 5-year sentence and will be suspended after 2 years and on probation.
Well, that's nice, right? I mean, gets them off the street for a little while anyway.
Little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
But then they meet up in prison with other people
Well,
that,
the point is it's nice that
Yeah.
no, it is, yes.
it's off the street for a little while. Gives us a little bit of a break from that one.
So you can see the crime analyst's report on page 35 in regard to the motor vehicle thefts at that area that I talked about, West Main Street, Jefferson Road. That is the hot spot for stolen cars. You can see that Part 1 crimes have increased by 5% from 2016 to 2017, and that's mostly attributed to the auto theft. Page 33, you could see the Part 1 crimes breakdown. Sexual assaults are down 33%. However, auto thefts are up 76%. Page 39 is just a representation of how the density of motor vehicle thefts have moved out west to that particular area that we were talking about. Quality of life crimes, we've had a 3% increase, mostly fraud, and theft from auto is the big culprit in that. Quality of life crimes, attempted burglary, we're down 17%, 18% in shoplifting. Theft from auto is up 49%. So you can see where the big problem is.
Can I ask you a question about fraud for a second?
Sure.
You mentioned at a previous meeting that we're spending some time trying to educate some of our folks on computer fraud and how that works and how we can put a dent in that. Can you just talk about that a little bit? I know it seems to be an ongoing, growing issue for everybody.
Well, I think that depending upon what type of fraud you're talking about, and typically we're seeing a lot of fraud focused at the elderly. We're seeing fraud focused computer-wise. You'll get a call from Microsoft, and supposedly Microsoft, and they'll ask you to do X, Y, and Z to your computer, and then steal all your data. The issue with that is I think that in general, local police departments are way behind the curve on it. So right now we have an officer that's been assigned to a regional group, investigative group, if you will. We will be sending that officer to the National Computer Forensic School down in Atlanta, Georgia, to help us out with these problems. So what we are doing to try to do this is, instead of, because there are so many different ways that you fraud could occur, especially electronically, because this is a whole new culture in the last 15, 20 years, right? We're trying to combat this regionally to be at cost savings. So the officer from Branford, let's say he'll be trained in network intrusion. The Guilford officer might be trained in mobile phone, because they're computers themselves. And then the officer from Madison or Clinton will be trained in another. So each department will have a specialty, and will draw resources from each department to try to solve these crimes and try to combat these crimes that we're having. Because frankly, if you call the I'm having a cranial misfire here, there's a federal hotline that you could call, but there's really nobody at the other end of that line there. It's
We think so.
The light's on but nobody's home type of thing. So we're doing this in cooperation with the Secret Service, the local Secret Service that's helping us out to arrange the training for our officers, as well as other municipalities to try to address these issues.
This is very interesting to me because in my work, I see this 3-4 times a week. People are getting their Visa cards hacked. People are getting their emails hacked, and never, ever, ever send account information or any of that stuff over email, ever. Don't do it. You can use a fax, you can scan, but don't use email, because if you use email, somebody's going to hack you. You've already been hacked. You probably don't even know it. You've all been hacked. All of us have been hacked. It's what you leave out there determines on whether or not you're going to get taken advantage of or not. We're seeing it all the time. I cannot tell you how many times Visa cards have to be reissued. And some of it is just carelessness, and some of it probably you've all heard some of these scams that they're doing against the elderly, where they call up somebody and say, we have your grandson in Sardinia, and you better not call anybody else, we're going to take care of him. But these scams are happening all the time. And it's a quality of life thing that we're dealing with all this computer stuff. And it's great that we're getting involved with that. And I think it's exciting that we're getting involved with that.
Certainly is. Yeah.
That's it. So I think that basically wraps up the analyst report. You can see that there's just the typical hotspot motor vehicle accident crashes, and the school checks that we typically do. We applied for a grant. We typically do every year. It's the holiday DUI grant. So we are able to put on extra patrols between Thanksgiving and New Year's. So we were able to get a total of 32 shifts out there, in which 15 officers participated. It consisted of 453 hours of extra patrols out there to focus on DUI and aggressive driving. They made 277 motor vehicle stops. Regardless, the number of DUI arrests are low, and I think that's because people are more aware that we're out there enforcing the law, which is actually a good thing. There were 144 citations, 140 warnings. They checked 21 people for field sobriety tests. So the cost, what it cost us was to fill those shifts was $26,844. However, through the grant, we were reimbursed $29,125. So it didn't cost the town anything. And I just want to let you know that we are focusing on aggressive driving. We have some major accidents that have happened in town. Unfortunately, some very tragic accidents in which were fatal accidents. So we are out there trying to make the road safer.
Could I add just one little thing to that as well, which is that the chief and the captains do a fantastic job of getting us grants. And these grants have been used for all sorts of things over the years, but it really helps us come budget time, because we get a lot done at no cost to the town. And I can't speak highly enough of what the chief and upper management of this police department have done that way, and it's worth noting. Not every town does that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that's the ComStat report. Moving on to the forfeiture report. We really didn't have any expenditures other than shipping DNA samples. The balance on the federal asset forfeiture is $169,454. Moving on to the budget, I'm pleased to report that Commissioner Goodwin and I attended the Board of Finance meeting, as well as the, what's the combined meeting called? Is it
The joint committee
joint committee meeting between Public Services and Ways and Means. Last night there was a vote at the full RTM meeting to transfer the funds to allow us to move forward and hire a deputy chief.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt. Is there do we have a job description for that position?
Yes.
May I
Absolutely.
at some point get a copy for me?
Sure, absolutely.
Just like Mary got her copy.
The other thing with the budget issues is Jim Finch has asked that the completed budgets be submitted by February 9th. We don't meet until the 12th. I'm sure that he'll give us a little bit of leeway on it, seeing how it's only a couple days. So at the next meeting, I'd like to meet with the budget committee, and before that, so that we could present it at the next meeting to have it approved. Personnel, we had one injury, Officer Roach. He's back to full duty. We had a couple letters of recognition and thanks to the officers. The first one has to do with.
I didn't get any letters.
You didn't get them in yours?
Yeah. Well, I think it's, unfortunately you didn't, Madam Chairperson, because the one from Henry C. Lee, Institute of Forensic Science.
Take care.
And for those of you who don't know Dr. Lee, he's probably the international authority on forensic science. And if I might read that letter at this point, Chief, take the spotlight from you.
Okay.
I am writing to let you know how excellent two of your officers are in providing professional community service. The letter is addressed to Chief Howard. Last Sunday, December 10th, my assistant and I were on our way to JFK Airport. Shortly after we left home, we ran into a roadblock caused by a fatal accident. If we waited, my assistant would have missed her flight. Two officers were very nice and led the way for us so my assistant could get on the limo on the other side of the roadblock. I forgot to ask the two officers their names because we were in a hurry. These officers are truly role models of excellent community service. And you are one of the best chiefs I have ever known. That's from Dr. Lee, who's the paragon of forensic medicine and the law.
There's a building named after him, too.
Could you do me a favor and find out who they are? Please let me know. That I would truly appreciate your help. I'm leaving for China today and we'll come home back next week. Maybe we can talk over the phone when I come back. Sincerely, Dr. Henry Lee. I think that's quite an accolade, our chief.
Yeah, and for Dr. Lee to take the time to write that, too.
Not only for the two officers, but for him to return.
More importantly, the officers that were involved took their own initiative to go out and help Dr. Lee. and his assistant. I'm not even sure if they knew who he was.
Probably
because
not.
one of them is
No, because
very
they don't know.
very new. But it was Officer Gadawala as well as Officer Roach, and they were directed by Captain Morgan. So great job by the officers, and with actually no help from me. So.
And you are one of the best chiefs I have ever known.
Don't believe everything you read, okay? So the next letter is somebody by the name of Ron D. This is for, in regard to Officer Matt Clerkin and Joseph Harrington. Several months ago, and actually I should mention our CSO, Tom Powers. He was in the center of town, and he walked by this person sitting on one of the park benches. He kind of looked at him, said he didn't look right, wasn't quite sure. Walked up the street, turned around, and said, maybe I better check on this guy. He came back. He came back to check on the guy, and this person was in medical distress. So CSO Powers called it into the station. Officer Clerkin and Harrington responded quickly. Clerkin was one of the first people there, started CPR on this gentleman, and actually saved his life along with the help of Officer Hurton. So terrific job by those involved.
And you need to follow up with the officers too, and just tell them how you told the commission.
I have already acknowledged them, and absolutely.
Good.
Yep.
That's nice.
Okay.
Supernumerary?
Supernumeraries. We have two, like I mentioned this at the last police commission meeting, we have two people that are interested in the position. We have started the hiring process with them. They have taken a written test as well as a physical agility test, and there's much more to the process, so it'll be a little while.
Great.
And that's my report.
And incidentally, not to get back to this, but Dr. Lee stated that two officers were exemplary, and the chief, whose names he did not know, but the chief acknowledged that it was Captain Morgan, and who else?
Officer Gadawala and Officer Roach.
Oh, and Officer Roach. All credits to them as well.
Oh, yes, yeah. Now, is Burkhart back?
He's on light duty.
Remember the O.J. Simpson trial?
All right, so I approve,
Dr. Lee.
make a motion to approve the report of the chief.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Traffic committee. Peter.
All right, it's going to be quick. We had one request that was a result of a petition signed by 7 folks down in Stony Creek on Rextile Road. The request was to make Rextile Road no parking either side. I communicated to our town engineer, Janice Plaziak, our fire marshal, Sean Heffernan, and also asked for input from Public Works. All agreed it should be no parking either side. In some places, that road is less than 20 feet wide. Getting apparatus up and down it is very problematic. So the recommendation of the committee is that we approve that. So I would entertain a
So
motion
moved.
in a second.
Second.
All
Report
in
of
favor?
All in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Tony, you on board?
Aye.
Report of the chair. There is no report of the chair except a Happy New Year to everybody. And
Silence is assent.
now, no citizens are there at the traffic committee meeting, so I hear a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Beautiful.
Tony?
He said it. It's an assent.
Silence is assent.
Oh, that's right.
The preceding program was brought to you through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.